friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. Today is a long-awaited video, one that I have been wanting to make for quite a long time, and one that you guys have said that you'd be interested when I mentioned it many times throughout the years, and that is a Goodreads video. You may notice that I am sitting in a different location today, and that's because I wanted to get comfortable because I have my laptop here and we are going to take a look at Goodreads today. There is an old Goodreads tag that I'm going to go through first, and then we're going to take a look at my Goodreads together. If I can get this right, it should be pretty cool, and I will show you how I have my shelf set up and what my Goodreads looks like and how I take care of it and all of that jazz. So we're just going to chat Goodreads today. The tag, I guess, was created like in 2014, so it's a really old tag. I'm not going to be tagging anybody, but I kind of like the overview it gives of how I use Goodreads. So let's just jump right into that first. Question number one is, what is the last book that you marked as read? And for me, that was Pride and Prejudice. I just finished listening to the audiobook of that yesterday. So that was my last book I marked as read, even though I guess technically it was already marked as read because I had read it before and I just reread it. I guess the last book that I officially marked as read would be Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, the third book in the Farseer trilogy, which I finished a couple days ago. Number two is, what are you currently reading? I have 3 books on Goodreads marked as currently reading. Pachinko, If You Want to Make God Laugh, and Just Jane by Nancy Moser, which I technically have only read like 4 or 5 pages of, but I add it to my shelf right away. Question number 3 is, what was the last book that you marked as want to read or added to your want to read shelf? And for me, that is The Giant Pumpkin Suite by Melanie Hauser Hill. This is a middle grade book that has some historical fiction, has some music, and it was recommended to me by one of you guys in the comments of one of my recent videos. So I went and looked it up on Goodreads and it sounded interesting, so I added it to my want to read shelf. Number 4 is, what book are you planning to read next? I don't know in particular. I mean, I'm in the middle of a couple. I guess Just Jane is the one I'm going to pick up that I haven't really started. And I also want to read the Jane Austen Project, which I'm starting on Saturday. So those 2 books are going to be picked up relatively soon. Number 5 is, do you use the 5-star rating system? Yes, I do. I hate rating books. I find it really difficult sometimes because it's so subjective, and one book that I mark as 5-star might not be as high of a quality of a different 5-star book, but really it's about how I feel when I finish reading a book, and that's how I rate it. I take star ratings very lightly. I'm not very serious about them. I don't think too hard about it. It's kind of like a gut feeling. 5 obviously is like, I absolutely loved this book. It's something I would recommend to a lot of people, if not everybody. I just felt like it had meaning in my life when I was reading it, and it just was a wonderful read. 4 stars is, I really liked this book, but there's just maybe something about it that kept it from being a 5-star, or maybe I don't think I would read it again, or something within the reading of the book, the writing style, or something that kept it from being a 5-star for me. 3 stars is like, yep, it was a good book. I liked it. It was okay. Take it or leave it kind of a book. 2 stars is, I did not like this book, but maybe I'm glad I read it still, or I made my way through this book. I very rarely give 1 or 2 stars. 1-star books don't happen for me because I often DNF. I'm not afraid to DNF books. So a 1-star very rarely happens, because if it feels like it's going to be a 1-star, then I don't finish it. So I will sometimes give 2, but usually my books are 3 and up. And I think that's because of BookTube and Bookstagram. I'm much more aware of the books that I'm picking up. I already have heard about them. I very rarely pick up books that I've never heard anyone talk about, so I pretty much know I'm going to like a book before it gets read anymore. And that's something that's because of this wonderful bookish community. Moving on. Number 6 is, are you doing a 2019 reading challenge? Yes, I am. I set my reading goal to 85 and I'm well over that. I think I have read 101 books so far this year, 102 books out of 85. So I'm 50 books ahead of schedule. Do I have a wish list on Goodreads? No. I suppose I could set up another shelf that is like a wish list shelf, but I don't have that currently. I do have an Amazon wish list. That's always linked down below. It's not always kept up to date, but every once in a while I go through and add some books that I'm interested in and add it to my Amazon bookish wish list, but not on Goodreads. Number 8 is, what book do I plan on buying next? I have no clue. I don't ever plan on buying specific books. If I go to a library sale or a thrift store, it's kind of like whatever they have. So I don't, as of right now, have a plan of buying a book in the near future. We'll see. Number 9 is, do you have any favorite quotes? There is a section on Goodreads. I'm going to go to my profile. There's a section on Goodreads where you can keep quotes that you like in books. I am not very good about writing down or marking quotes. However, when I was looking at this earlier to get ready for this video, I saw that I do have one quote in there. So I will read it to you. It's from A Monster Calls from Patrick Ness, which is a middle grade book that I absolutely love. And the quote is, "I wish I had 100 years, she said very quietly. 100 years I could give to you." And knowing that book, I thought that was a precious line from the mother to her son. That's a sad book. Number 10, who are your favorite authors? And I was trying to find on Goodreads if there was a place to mark your favorite authors, and I didn't see anything specific for authors. So I guess if I were to go to, whoa, there's thunder outside. I love it. My most owned authors or my most read, I could go to my read shelf and sort it by author, but even then it's just going to alphabetize it. So I don't really know why this question is part of a Goodreads tag. I guess if I was just going to name a couple favorite authors, you guys could probably guess as well, but Kristen Hanna for sure and Frederick Bachman, those two are two of my favorites since starting BookTube, and I've read 4 or more books from both of them. And then older favorites from before BookTube days would be Ted Dekker and Francine Rivers. Also, I've read almost everything that both of them have written. I mean, but then we could go to Ellen Montgomery, we could go Jane Austen. I've read many, many books by both of those. C.S. Lewis, I love. Yeah, I have a lot of favorite authors, but I'm not sure how on Goodreads one could find that information. I don't know. If there's something that I'm missing, let me know. Number 11 is, are you a part of any groups on Goodreads? And yes, I definitely am. I occasionally will join a group and then not participate or pay any attention to it and then leave the group. But as of right now, I'm in 4 groups, 2 of whom I look into pretty regularly and 2 of whom I haven't looked at in ages. So I have my read-along group, Books&Jams Readalong, which I am almost definitely weekly involved in, if not multiple times a week, commenting on what we're reading or responding to other people's comments or just reading what other people have commented. And the other one that I like popping into but haven't been very active is as far as commenting myself, but the Mock Newbery 2020 group is a group that's filled with middle grade that are potential Newbery winners for next year. So I'm very involved in that group, keeping my eye out for what might be a good pick for the middle grade March next year for the group read. The other 2 groups that I'm a part of are monthly recommendations, which I haven't looked at in months and months and months, but whenever I need some good video ideas, that's a good place to go look. And also the Beat the Backlist Reading Challenge, which I tried to do in 2018 or 2017. I don't remember when I joined it, but I never really was an active participant in that group either. I just haven't left the group. So those are my groups. And finally, any questions you want to add? No, because what we're going to do now is I'm going to become small and my Goodreads is going to become big, and I'm going to record my screen and we're going to talk about my Goodreads, in particular how I set up my shelves, because I think that's something that is unique to me in a way that I keep track of my massive TBR. We'll get to that in a second. Hopefully this works. Okay, I think it's going. So this is my home screen. When I click into Goodreads, this is the screen that I go to the most often. You can see my currently reading on the side, and then the people that I'm following or friends with, what they are reading. I like to get book ideas from them. Recommendations on the side I take a look at every once in a while. You guys know this is just the home screen for Goodreads, but let's go to my books. I'm going to show you first, probably the thing that most people are interested in learning is how I set up my bookshelves. So you can see along the side here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 shelves here that are what would we call them? Like permanent shelves. All of my books fit into one of these categories. I guess 6 because all is at the top there. So the ones Goodreads automatically gives you are read, currently reading, and want to read. Those are the only 3 that come with a Goodreads account. I have added a DNF shelf for books that I started reading but stopped and don't want to ever go back to. An owned TBR shelf where I put in all of the books that I own, and add books that I haul very regularly, which is good. I keep up to date with that, which is awesome. And then saving for later. So these are books that I set down for the time being, but would like to pick up at some point. I don't think that they're officially going to be DNFs. So all of my books fit into some of these. All of my books can only go into one of these categories. So if it's currently reading, it comes off of my owned TBR and moves onto the currently reading shelf. Those are my permanent shelves. Then I have also a bunch of other shelves, and I have just chosen to organize by year. I guess because the date that you add a book automatically gets added. I just like to see it this way. This is how I've chosen to do my Goodreads. So I made 2019 a sticky shelf, so it stays at the top. Whatever the current year is, I make that a sticky shelf so it stays at the top. And then we have Beat the Backlist, which I guess I tried to do last year. And that was just reading books off of my own shelves. And so it was interesting to see. And then you can see I started keeping track in 2013, 14, 15, 16, and every year I kept track. Look at how my reading has grown. Very cool. This year will continue to grow, which I love. And then there's a couple shelves that I have on here that at some point I would like to add books to, but I haven't gotten that far. So I have Around the World, because one of my goals at some point is going to be to read from a lot of different places. So I would like to go through my shelves and add books to this Around the World shelf so that I can kind of go there to see. And then unhauling, when I'm unhauling a whole bunch of books, it's easy for me to put them in this shelf, and then I can delete them all together using a batch edit, which is super helpful. And then World War II fiction, which I also need to update because I'm aware of many more than 8 books. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go up here to edit so I can show you how to make more than just those 3 shelves that Goodreads gives you. So the first step, go up there to edit. When you go to My Books, right next to the bookshelves, there's a little button that says edit. So click on that and you'll come into here where you have your shelves. So I'm not sure what feature is. Oh, I guess at the top of your profile, if you want one shelf to be there, you can make that a feature shelf. I don't really worry about that. Sortable just means that they number the books that are within your within that shelf so that you can sort them in different ways. And I did that for my to read shelf so that I can like do a random number generator if I wanted to. I did that for my owned TBR for the same reason. Those are the only 2 shelves that I currently have as sortable that are numbered. Because I don't really need to number any of the other ones at this point, but I could always come in here and do that if I wanted to. Then sticky shelves just means it's going to go to the top of the list, and I actually can unclick Beat the Backlist because that doesn't need to be a sticky shelf anymore. I'm not doing that this year. I'm not keeping track of that this year. So I just have 2019 is my only sticky shelf so that it shows up at the top of the list of my personal shelves. Then here's what you need to know. Exclusive. So these 3 are automatically exclusive. Read, currently reading, and to read. Those are automatically exclusive shelves that Goodreads gives you. You can make any shelf you want an exclusive shelf, but that means each book can only be in one of those exclusive shelves. So I have, like I've told you, DNF, owned TBR, and saving for later as exclusive shelves. And then this final category is just recommendations. So one of the fun traits or tools that you can get from Goodreads is you can get recommendations based on any of the shelves that you have. So it would be kind of fun to go into, once I add some books to Around the World, get more recommendations based on those books, and I might find some more books from other countries or things like that. World War II fiction, same thing. Recommendations is a fun feature. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, so that is it's so easy to create those shelves. Now I'm done because I'm not changing anything else. Let me just pop back on here for a moment. Let me stop that recording. So the way that I have added all of my owned TBR books into Goodreads, because if you can see, we'll get back to that. We'll get back into Goodreads in a moment, but I currently have 574 books, and I did not have to add them one by one. One of the nice features of the phone app is the scan feature. So I will hopefully be able to put a little recording of my phone, a screen recording of my phone, so I can show you how this works as well. But the scan feature on Goodreads allows you to go through my shelves. I did it in one evening. I went into the scan feature, and you can do it stack by stack. I did it probably like 20 or 30 books at a time. You can scan the front cover or the barcode. Usually the front cover works, which was amazing. It saved me so much time. I could just pull it from my shelf, scan it, make piles as I went along. And then as a batch, I could add them to my owned TBR shelf that I had already created. So create the shelf first, and then you can go through your books and scan them using the app on your phone, and then batch add them to the shelf that you want them to go into. As I scanned them in, if there were books that I had already read, I could just swipe left to remove that book from the scanned books, so I could see if it was a book I had already read. I didn't want it to go on my owned TBR shelf. And remember, those shelves are exclusive, so you can't have them on more than one shelf at the same time. So if I had batch edited a book that had already been read and added it to my owned TBR shelf, it would have been removed from my read shelf, and I didn't want that to happen. I think that's it for scanning. Anyways, that took me just like a couple hours, not even a couple hours. It didn't take me very long at all to have all of my books in there. There's one more feature on Goodreads that I found relatively recently that I use all the time. So let me go back to Goodreads. Okay, I'm going back to my homepage on Goodreads. Let's go back here. Da-da-da-da. Come on. Okay, if you scroll down, oh no, where is it? Okay, maybe it's not on the homepage. Is it here in my books? Okay, yes. Here in my books, if you scroll down under the bookshelves on the left-hand side, you can see tools. Oh, I wonder what that owned books means. This, oh, interesting. I have not played around with this. I think you can keep track of your own books here too. I just didn't ever look into this. And keep track of what their condition is. That's interesting. Okay, I'm going back. Here we go. Find duplicates. This is the one that I wanted to talk about because this was a lifesaver for me. And I already just did it earlier today. I realized I probably should have waited so I could have done it with you. But if you go into this, if you click on that link, this will show you any places where you have books on your shelves more than once. And maybe it's because when you scanned it in, you scan in one edition, but on your want to read shelf, maybe you have marked want to read a different edition. So you will have 2 entries. And this feature of finding duplicates allows you to delete the one of those entries so that you can have just one record of a book in your Goodreads. And I have really enjoyed having that feature because I had loads of duplicates. When I first started clicking on this, I realized I had lots of duplicates. So I check it probably once a month or so and make sure I'm nice and cleaned up, because when I haul books, I do add them in before I put them on my shelves. I scan them in and add them to my own TBR shelf on Goodreads. I think that's it. I'm going to wrap up there so this doesn't get too long. I would love if you guys have any questions or comments. Let me know down below if there are other features that Goodreads has that I didn't talk about. I know there's lists is a big one. I have a list on there for my BookTuber Recommends project from this year. I'm going to make sure to do that again next year because I love having that list, and having the ability for people to vote on it is a lot of fun. I like looking at the lists, and I've used them for many different things throughout the years. Yeah, Goodreads is a really fun app, and I'm a big fan. But let me know if you guys have any questions or comments, if there are things that I didn't cover. Maybe I could do a part 2 if there are more things that you want me to talk about. I didn't really get too in depth as to like what is on my shelves, because I talk about what's on my shelves all the time. Let me know if you like this, and if you have any questions, let's chat down below. You guys know I love chatting with you down in the comments. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be talking to you in another video very soon. Bye.